The earth is at peace. There is no hunger. There is no violence. The environment is healed. Honesty, courtesy, and kindness are practiced by all. Our world has never been more perfect. Only it is no longer our world.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff. And this is a fifth Tuesday. So this is a very special week here at Spooky Tuesday as part of our Alien Month lineup. We have a movie that I have been, you might have heard me say it before. I've been pushing this film for months now.
Forever.
And I've been trying to get Sydney to do it. And she's been very resistant. But she's forced now. We blackmailed her into it, basically. We put it on the schedule. I created Alien Month solely so that we could do this film. And I came with it months in advance, and I came up with a banger Alien lineup that we then swapped at the last minute for an equally banger Alien lineup. But we're finally here at the fifth Tuesday portion of it. You've heard us talk about other alien movies, other aliens coming to Earth, taking over, invasions, attacks. But none of them have really posed the all-important question, would you fuck an alien? And so finally we have the alien romance that we've been waiting for, which is 2013's The Host, based on the Stephenie Meyer novel. That's right, Stephenie Meyer, the author of Twilight. So if you didn't know what you were getting into, that should be a good indication.
Do you mean Stephenie Meyer, author of the #1 bestseller Eclipse? That's what it says on my hardcover copy of The Host book that I keep in my apartment. I brought it with me from childhood home.
Also, I just want to say, I think all the alien movies that we have done so far poses the question, would you fuck an alien?
It poses a question to the audience, but none of the characters really engage with it. And in this
just
one,
Martin Short.
Within the world, they're really engaging with the question, would you fuck an alien?
True.
And it's an important
and the
question
answer,
to ask.
the answer
of
might
course.
surprise you. Some characters hard no. Some characters, they're interested.
Here's the thing.
It's like, ooh.
You gotta do it for the story. I feel like at some point saying, yo, I fucked an alien. Listen, if Lucy Liu can fuck a ghost, I can fuck an alien.
Mm-hmm. Lucy Liu is out here making new ground. You know what I mean? Forging new paths. And I would do anything to follow in Lucy Liu's footsteps. I would do anything for her. And also, I just feel like, it's kind of the same with would you fuck a lot of celebrities? It's even if I don't really want to, do I want to be able to say that I have,
And then do you want people to randomly bring up
it for the rest of your life?
Yeah. The rest of your life in really funny ways.
In really funny, subtle ways.
I was really confused.
All. Yes, you do.
I was super confused about why you brought up Lucy Liu, and then I remembered just now that she fucked a ghost. I totally missed that part of what you were saying. I would fuck an alien. I'll go on record saying that.
I think it also depends what kind of alien and what that would entail.
I'd be open to it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You
if
have
it's a mean alien, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go out of my way to any alien. I have standards.
Put it on record, any alien, no matter what their species is I'd fuck
Come
it.
and get it. That Selena Gomez song, When You're Ready, Come and Get It. It's like
Na, na,
that.
na,
Me
na, 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 na,
putting
na.
that out to the
Yeah.
galaxy. No, it's not like that. It's
No,
not
it's
like
not
that
like
at
that.
all.
Especially now
still
that we have
cheesy.
indications that aliens are real. Like we'll just like, what about dinner first? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We'll see
Exactly. You still have to
where
wine
the
and
night
dine
goes.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But I'm open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Let the record show.
Also, could you imagine aliens come here? Poor human men. They're gonna be just like even more alone than they are now.
Well, look, if the aliens have something better to offer, what am I supposed to do about it?
You know, I bet all the aliens just want to do is pay for our little trinkets and our knicknacks. And they're
There
like, you know what, bestie?
That's what Sydney's looking for. Yeah.
You'd be
That's
like,
the
"You don't have to
romance
do
she
world
wants.
anything."
order.
Take notes. But there are few and far trinkets to be had in a film such as The Host. This movie takes place in it's kind of like post-alien apocalypse. They really only get into the world building so much in this film. Monica and I had both already read the book, and then we both
It was
re-listened to
formative.
the audiobook.
It was formative.
Yeah,
for
it
me
is
as a
23
youth.
hours long, the audiobook. So and like the plot really doesn't start until like 3.5 hours in. So if you want world building, then you should check out the book, because it will talk about how all the various parts of society work for so long.
I love world building books, and I'm not afraid of like a 23-hour book, but I could not get into this one, and I tried.
Do you think you'll try again now that you've seen the movie?
No.
I wouldn't.
You-
I couldn't imagine the movie
No.
inspiring that in a person. I'll say that right now. The
Not at
the book is 23 hours in audiobook form, and it is 619 pages on the page.
And it's like a
so-
tall book too. It's not short little 600 pages.
Yeah.
Those 600
I
pages
couldn't-
are all very big.
I couldn't get it out of my bookshelf because it's abnormally tall. I had to like take all the books out of my bookshelf so I could get it out, which I
Had
guess
really
she was
been
just trying to
wedged
make
in
a
there.
statement, but she didn't want the book to be 1,000 pages long if she had made the pages a little shorter. But yeah,
But yeah, I mean, this
had an
is
experience.
this was the first Stephenie Meyer follow-up to the Twilight series, which she hadn't even finished at the time yet, I don't think. Like, I don't think Breaking Dawn had a Breaking Dawn release date book. Yeah, Breaking Dawn, the Breaking Dawn book came out like 6 months after this book came out. So this was really, she was trying to do something new, something different. She said in an article or in an interview with The Guardian that this was the book that she would want to be remembered for more than the Twilight series. It is good, but it is also very Stephenie Meyer. Like, it's so unbelievably Stephenie Meyer.
It's so Stephenie Meyer.
It is like
it is written by a Mormon woman.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, she
incredibly Mormon coded.
So many of her classic tropes are in here, the Stephenie Meyer tropes. But if you are completely unfamiliar with The Host, I'll read you the IMDb logline, and then I'll probably get a little more specific about what's going on here with the premise. But the IMDb logline reads: when an unseen enemy threatens mankind by taking over their bodies and erasing their memories, Melanie Strider risks everything to protect the people she cares about. And I would say that is not a super helpful logline for this film. But the basic
There's a
premise,
lot to be said, you know. How do you boil it down to one sentence when the book is 23 hours long? And the movie is 2 hours and 5 minutes long.
It is a long movie.
It is a long movie. I feel like I watched it recently and thought it was even longer. But I must have
the mark of
hallucinated
a good movie, when you're like, that seemed like it was
that seemed like it was
lane.
3 hours long. Yeah. But the book is about it is an invading alien species, and they are, you could call them parasites, basically. Like they're called souls, and they come to new planets, and they insert themselves into the bodies of the dominant
Yeah.
species on that
They're-
planet.
It's not mean to say parasite. They cannot live without a host body. So.
Yeah, they can on the origin. But
True.
you know, that's only so many people have ever lived on the origin back in the day. But they really get into the lore and all the different worlds and stuff in the book. There's like 8 or 9 of them, like maybe 10. But they come and they don't intend to do any harm. They're a very peaceful species. They could not hurt a fly if they wanted to, is what they want you to think. That's not so much the impression the movie gives. The
No,
movie's
not
kind
at
of doing
all.
something a
Not
little
at all.
different.
They really did not stick with that at all. But they can't even tell a fucking lie in the book. Like
Yeah.
they if they
They
tell a lie, it's
can,
like
but it's
apparently
so-
really
yeah.
obvious.
Really obvious. So if you're another soul, you'll buy it because you'd be like, why would she be lying? We don't lie. But if you're trying to lie to a human, they're expecting you to lie because humans are deceitful and violent, etc. That's what the souls think. That's why they're like, we're coming to Earth to get rid of violence and murder and crime. We're going to make a peaceful society. And we just want to experience life on all these other planets. But being on Earth isn't like being on all the other planets. Human bodies are so volatile and emotional, and their feelings are so big. And some of the humans who knew what was happening once they caught on to the alien invasion, they're fighting back, even just within their own minds.
Da-da-da-da.
And the
It's
humans
really
are like so
interesting.
horny too. And they're like, we don't know what to do about this, actually.
Well, humans are innately horny as a species.
We are very
Listen to the
horny.
podcast.
We're angry
Um,
and horny. That's
Not
all.
everybody, because this was actually one thing that I filed away in my head when I was listening to the audiobook, is it is so Stephenie Meyer coded in the way that both Melanie and Wanderer, Wanderer is the soul that gets put in Melanie's body. There's literally a scene where they're
Wanda?
talking to their I'll get to the Wanda of it all.
Wanda?
But there's literally a scene where Wanderer is like talking to her therapist, basically, because they have all the new normal human jobs remain in the new alien society. You can still like work at a Mexican restaurant as a server or be a photographer, or like everything is basically the same.
But they've eliminated human suffering. You have
Yeah.
to put that part in.
Yeah, so
Well, the
suffering doesn't
OG
exist
type
anymore.
of human suffering. They have a new type of human suffering where the humans are locked inside of their bodies and they
The
can't get
humans
out and
are
they can't
prisoners
control
in their
their
own
bodies.
minds. Yeah.
I can't believe
Yeah.
these things came to a new planet and did a very fun hostile takeover. And then they're like, you know what? We're still going to work.
They
I know.
are
Could not
doing
be
things for the
me.
good of
They
society.
see it as novel. Yeah.
Somebody's
Could
gotta work
never
if you
be
want to have
me.
food to eat and TV to watch, etc. And they have a discussion about that at one point too that I want to touch on later. But it's so interesting. She has this conversation with her therapist where her therapist basically says, like, human bodies are horny, Wanderer. Like, have you considered that, like, you feel sad and lonely and you could go out and like fuck somebody? And she's like, like, how dare you? Like, that's disgusting to me. My body was in love with one man only, and that was my soulmate. And the thought of being sexual with somebody else is revolting. Like, it's so Stephenie Meyer demisexual coded where you're allowed to be horny, but only for your soulmate, ideally the
Oh
person
my
you're gonna
God.
marry.
You're
That's
only
the way
allowed
it
to be
is.
horny for one person.
One person,
At a
maybe
time.
a second person if you're not sure which one your soulmate is yet.
Exactly. If
'Cause there's
a
two
Jacob
souls.
Edwards scenario, it's hard to choose.
That's what's so interesting about this movie, though, is like it does the very typical YA love triangle thing, but it's only a triangle in the way that there are 3 bodies at play, because actually there are sort of 4 people involved,
Yeah,
because
it's a quadrangle.
Melanie and Wanderer are in the same body. They've got their own love interests.
Love square. We love a love square. No one talks about the love square.
The love square.
Why
But
don't
yeah,
they just have an orgy and the minds can be there at the exact same time? And that
Melanie
would just be
wouldn't want
fun.
that. Melanie has no romantic interest in Ian. She really doesn't want Wanderer to have any interaction with Jared in that way. She's mad about it. She punches him whenever she gets the chance.
Well, she's also like 17 and isn't.
Yeah. Oh my
is,
God.
like,
Okay. Yes.
aren't the men
Let's
like
talk about
almost
that.
30? And because I
Wait.
was watching, like, I was like doing research, and apparently Stephenie said, yeah, I was
She
thinking
fucked it
about
up again,
making
yeah.
them late 20s, early 30s, and then she didn't. Like, girl, that's on you. You could have done that.
She
Let's
Stephenie Meyered
do-
it once again.
Every time she can have a little little statch moment, she takes it. She's like, it's fine.
She's like, it's right there. I can't
Societies
say
that
no.
said that you needed to be 18 to fuck this 27-year-old. That society is burned. We're dancing on the rubble of that society. And so we say nay, and we can fuck right now.
No, 26-year-old Jared is actually such a good man that he won't fuck 17-year-old Melanie. And they don't say explicitly that they waited until she was 18, but they very much imply it, and like the months of frustration that Melanie went through with Jared.
Okay, can we talk about what happens in the movie though, real quick? Like,
Yeah.
it's so like bizarre to me because like basically they kiss the second that they meet. I almost said Stephenie, sorry, Melanie Strider. And Jared, that he kisses her like immediately, and then like later on in the film they're like sitting on a couch together, and she's like, you haven't kissed me since. And he's like, even if we're the last two people on the earth, like, you don't have to. The phrasing of that was still so icky to me. He's supposed to be like a good guy, being like, we don't have to have sex. Like, of course she doesn't have to. I don't know. Like, I don't know, just the way he phrased
Yeah.
it. Like, of course she doesn't
You know,
have
It
to.
they have
Right
set up
after-
a bad
right, Jared?
dynamic. Yeah.
Like, he's like, right after I assault you by kissing you, because I haven't seen another human being in
yeah.
2 years. Now, you know, like, you don't have to if you don't want to.
There's a
And when
lot
it's
of
like-
weird man stuff in this, but it's not
Yeah.
time for all of it yet. But this part is
Yeah.
very weird. And then it gets worse and worse as
Yeah.
it progresses.
But yeah, the way the movie starts out is you see Melanie in the beginning, and she's running away, and there are these people after her, and they've got sort of glowing, reflective eyes, and they wear all white, and they're
But
chasing
the whites
her.
don't match.
The whites don't match. It's true.
It
And then
really
she
bothers
like
me.
launches herself over a balcony to try and kill herself so she doesn't get caught. But she doesn't die. She just breaks every bone in her body, which gives
Woof.
the seekers, the people in all white, the opportunity to put a soul inside of her so that the soul can rifle through her memories essentially and help them hunt down the remaining humans hiding on planet Earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives up a lot of goods pretty much right away in the movie. Almost immediately, she's like, her name was Melanie. She's from Louisiana, which is not book canon. But her name is Melanie. She's from Louisiana. She has a brother named Jamie. And then they hold like the Jared reveal for later when like it's actually opposite in the books, but that's okay.
But also, why do they make her from Louisiana and then don't give her an accent from
Don't you
Louisiana?
hear Saoirse Ronan
She does
doing her
have an
best
accent.
Southern accent?
No,
You do-
she
you
does
didn't hear it?
not.
Bro, she has it, and you can
She
only hear
does
it when
not.
she's really twanging her twang. Like when she's really angry, she really twangs. But like when she's saying stuff really quick, you can barely hear it. So I agree with you there. But she's like trying so hard to do this accent, and I'm like, you are like, is she Irish or Scottish?
She's Irish.
Listen, as a
You're an
Southerner,
Irish lass.
there was not a single Southern accent in this movie from her or her brother.
She
also apparently
has
from
one,
Louisiana.
she's just not good at it.
Yeah, it's very
it's
light
enough
and
to
it's
ask
terrible.
her to do a regular American accent.
she's
To
good
ask her
at.
to do the Southern on top of it as well in the same role, dual accent work. It's just too much to ask
It's
of
asking
any
too much.
Oscar nominated. Is she Oscar nominated? Does she have an
She is.
Oscar?
She should be.
She's so talented. I'm obsessed with her. I had this weird realization where I had like two names that were top of my baby list. And I was
Mhm.
like, one of them is this name Ronan. It's not Leatherface. And
It's
I was like,
Leatherface.
for a boy. And I think it's like the super cutest name. And it means like sea lion or something in like Irish or something. I don't fucking know. That's not exactly right. Don't quote me on that. But I loved that name. And then like later on, I like watched the Will of the Wisps or whatever, and the main character's name is Saoirse, and I was like, that would be so beautiful for a girl. And those were my top two names. And then it took me like a whole year to realize the names were Saoirse Ronan, and that's just like her fucking name. And I was like,
Yeah,
Monica,
her
you can't
power.
name your two children. That would be so weird.
it's
It was
an
just a
homage to the
coincidence.
2013 movie The Host.
It was just a coincidence, and she happens to have two beautiful names. Good for
And-
her.
It's okay, Monica. You can do that because we'll just call both of your children Leatherface.
Ah,
And so it'll
Leatherface
be
1 and
fine.
Leatherface 2.
Leatherface,
Little
Leatherface,
Leatherface,
Leatherface.
big Leatherface.
like thing
Yeah.
1, thing 2.
yeah.
Well, before we get too far away from this, I wanted to say this earlier when we were talking about how the hosts or the souls come and take over the earth. It's really interesting to do this movie right after Signs, actually, because our whole conversation at the end of Signs is how we always assume that the aliens are some like more perfect society than us. Like there's
Mhm.
that assumption in Mars Attacks, there's that assumption kind of in Signs, or at least the fan reaction, but like they could be idiots just like us. This
Mhm.
is the alien race they're talking about. If the souls are the alien race that they thought they were gonna get in Signs, but no, like they really do. They come in and they like clean up the messes of the race that they take over. Like, yes, it's horrible and blah 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 blah, but they come in and they're like, we're just gonna stop war. We're gonna stop famine. We're gonna stop homelessness. We're gonna stop all of that, and we're gonna fix climate change real quick, and then we're gonna party on your planet. So they do come in and they fix all of our societal ills, but at what cost? You know what I mean? I just thought it was
Yeah.
funny.
I think one of the things that's really funny about the movie that they don't touch on as much in the book, they actually have a specific conversation about it, sort of, but the visuals in the movie, for one part, are so funny to me because in the soul taken society, they've gotten rid of money. There's no need for money anymore. You just go and you work your job, whatever your job is, whatever your calling is, for the good of society. And you don't need money to buy anything because you just are expected to take what you need. And because you're so good and so sweet and so caring to everyone around you, you're not going to take more than you need.
They're
So
like
you
a
can
truly
just
altruistic society.
yeah, it's like
It's communism, baby.
yes, it is literally like communism, except they just like the money doesn't exist at all. They just are all doing it without that like additional exchange of goods and services for money. But
This
they
is the
literally talk about
world.
it in the book at one point where when she has started, she's like a teacher in the book, Sydney. Like her calling is teacher because her name is Wanderer because she's lived on 9 other planets as all these, and that's like way more than most people ever do. Most people will like pick a couple and then stick on a planet that they like or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't touch on that shit at all in the movie.
They don't talk about the ice
They don't-
bears or the spiders in the
They
movie.
talk about like you should read the book just so you can hear Stephenie Meyer being like, I know about science fiction things. Let me describe to you the world where we're analytical spiders and
We're
have everything's in
spiders
black
we
and white,
do
but we have 40
technology.
legs.
That's how we made the cryo tanks. I could explain it to you when I was a spider, but I'm not a spider anymore, so I don't understand it anymore.
Remember that time when I was seaweed for 2 million years or something like that? Like that, there's so much of that. That is at least 150 of the pages. It's just like describing these other worlds. And in
Talking
the
about
movie, they're like, yeah,
being
let's
a
cut the fat.
yeah.
Fair
Explaining
choice for the film.
explaining the dolphin world. That's the newest world they just opened up where the
Ooh.
dolphins all live in thruples because they have
Yes.
3 genders for their family system, and so they all are in thruples. That's good.
That's the future. That's the future, is the dolphin world, sea world, if you
Yeah,
will.
but so like her thing that makes her special is that she's lived on so many different worlds, which they kind of touch on in this movie. They don't really get into it. But so she's always like teaching the people in the caves about it. Once she gets to the Jebediah's caves where she lives with them after they found her wandering in the desert. And that's how she starts to like make friends with the people in the book. And there's one moment where they're like, but why do you do it? Why do you all work without for no money? Or how are you incentivized? And she's like, are you guys not literally living on a commune here in this cave right now? All working for the good of everyone in the cave system and taking what you need. But I think it's so funny because they literally talk about it, and then the movie adds on to that by doing the thing that America is always like, oh my God, we can't have communism because you'll lose the choice of brand loyalty. And it's just like that. In the movie, they go to store and they pick a can of potato soup off the shelf.
I love store.
They just go, it just says store. It just looks like a big IKEA, and it just says store instead of IKEA.
It literally
and they go
is
to store.
IKEA. It's for sure they use an IKEA.
They go to store and they get potato soup, and they just take what they need, and everything is just labeled on a plain yellow label otherwise. And I think it's so funny. They just go to store.
Simpler.
They go to store.
Here's a bone I have to pick. I like some of the choices, but also they make me so upset. I love that the costumer was like, the Seekers are going to be in all white. None of the whites will match. You have to deal with that. Everybody, like all of the main like souls that we see, they are dressed like either they are in the art world, but like corporate, or they're just like corporate. It's just like
they're
this
doing
corporate
sort of
ass little, like a little bit of twee shit, but like very like not even normcore. It's so formal. They're so formal.
It's so interesting after we did the Blob, because they're doing this sort of like 50s aesthetic homage at parts where it's like you can't really see it on its own when it's just Saoirse Ronan wearing little peplum tops and khaki capris and
little booties
running
through the desert.
Is like, my God, the fashion in this movie is so terrible in many ways. When you remember how Stephenie Meyer was out here in Twilight being like, Bella's wearing a long khaki skirt and she's beautiful, it actually makes a lot of sense what happened here maybe with this film.
They did not describe the clothes barely at all, though, I would say, in the book. So they
say in the book at one point is that she needs new clothes when they're out on raids because her clothes are getting rumpled. And so you can kind of imagine like, oh, everyone is nicely clean and freshly pressed, potentially.
Of course.
But that also doesn't make
they
sense.
Also like
they do the thing in the book where they're like, this body loves Sweet Tooth. So you can imagine that it would be like, this body loves to dress punk. I love to be punk. I think they don't really get into that though, because she's not interacting.
I don't think
that
like personal
society.
Style maybe sticks as well as like my love for cooking Mexican food or something like that.
Sure.
It's I don't know. It would stick for me. I would still be eccentric even with a soul stuck in the back of my head. But
I do love the Seekers. Their aesthetic in this movie, like all the chrome.
That's what I was literally just about to say. The chrome in this movie made me fucking cackle. I could not get over it. They're like, future chrome everything. It's like that episode of fucking SpongeBob.
But also, wouldn't the chrome be like a hazard when driving?
No, because they look so slay while doing it. So that's what's most important.
And no one goes above the speed limit, so there shouldn't be any issue with that. They just all are law-abiding citizens naturally. But the beginning of this story it's like probably 300 pages, like 15 hours of Chelsea and I's time to get to the point that's like 20 minutes into the movie or something like that.
Not even. It's probably like 8.5 minutes into the movie.
There's so much lead up in the book. And she like has to find this like code to figure out how to get to Jebediah's place, because she had actually literally never been there before in her life, so it's not like her remembering it. It's this whole fucking thing. But anyway,
whole saga.
In the movie, you get Saoirse Ronan flipping her fucking car. That shit was fucking insane. The stunt woman Saoirse Ronan.
Reason. Yeah, one thing they do in the movies that they don't do as much in the books, Sydney, is that Melanie can shout and be so annoying if she wants to, and she can like force memories on Wanderer, and she can hold memories back to keep them secret, but she can only like take over Melanie's or her own body on like very few occasions when she's kissing Jared basically, and Wanderer is like overwhelmed, and Melanie's like so mad that she's able to like punch through. Like other than that doesn't happen. So that movie when she's like escaping the soul compound in the beginning, and she like hits the other seeker and like sprays the thing, grabs it and sprays him in the face, like that's not at all how it happens in the book. Like she would not be capable of it. That's violent.
Yeah. She also does not do like an escape from being locked down or anything like that. That doesn't happen. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I just loved like the makeup on Saoirse Ronan after she walked in the desert for 1,000 years and her like skin is falling off. I was like, this is kind of gruesome. I love this. Maybe this is a horror story. She's so sunburned.
It's an alien invasion. The sunburn is horrifying. When Jamie gets cut later and then we see his leg, it's literally so gooey and disgusting in that one moment.
That was,
it is very icky.
People get hunted down and shot in the head.
Yeah.
Which is very violent of them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's there's
like a whole discourse in the book about the Seekers. Because her healer in the beginning, Ford's Deepwaters, he's like sassy with the Seeker, who's played by Diane Kruger in this movie, who looks so sexy. Hot. Yeah, the moment where she has her jacket off when she's in the caves and she's just in the tank top. Oh my god.
Yeah,
oh my god. She's leaning against the cave. Oh my god.
I texted Chelsea and I was like, I need Diane Kruger to spit in my mouth. And I stand by that.
Yeah.
And this character, she would. But the whole Seeker stuff is very different than in the books too. I won't get into that too much, but there's a lot they changed actually, including there was discourse about the casting for this movie because it's so interesting. With Twilight, like all of the characters in the books are pretty explicitly white. Or even when it's not explicit, you're just meant to assume that they're white, I guess. And then when they did more diverse casting in the movie, there was that whole thing where like Stephenie Meyer was like pushing back on some of it with Catherine Hardwicke, who directed the first one. And then this movie is actually like sort of less diverse than the books, which is so weird and interesting. Like Melanie in the book, it doesn't say what race she is, but it says like she has brown eyes, brown skin, brown hair. She's tan even when she's not out in the sun ever. Something on IMDb trivia said she's half Latina on her mother's side, but that's not actually in the book. I kind of got the impression that she was like Native American in the book, and there's like discourse to be had about that if we have time for it. But they cast Saoirse Ronan, who's obviously very white. The Seeker in the book is also, it sounds like she's like Indian, maybe like from India. And then she's Diane Kruger blonde in the movie. So it's interesting to see how like Stephenie Meyer wrote the book, but then like the movie is almost more like original Stephenie Meyer Twilighty than it is representative of the book itself, which is so strange.
Yeah, that's weird.
But then they take the two ginger doctors and they make them both black. So I guess that's diverse enough. They said that's enough diversity for today. Yeah.
There you go. Is that the guy from those commercials? That guy looks so familiar to me.
Oh, I think he is.
Commercials? What commercials?
That didn't immediately bring to mind commercials for you. Because I went, oh yes, I've seen him.
No, he's not from commercials. He's not from commercials. What is he in? I don't know. I recognized him and I was like, I know your face like the back of my hand and I cannot place you at all. I will find out and I will report back to you.
Anyway, or should we just wait?
No, I meant keep going. Don't wait for me.
Yeah, I mean the movie is very silly as a whole, though. It's a very silly film. They make a lot of silly choices. It is kind of impressive the way that they're able to condense so much. I wouldn't say that it has the emotional weight at a lot of times that it does in the books, but you sure do get to see a lot of people hit Saoirse Ronan in the face, and
That's what
that's
I
kind of
wanted
fun.
to talk about because there's imagine this. You see the body of your loved one return to you, and you know that there's an alien in there, but they still look exactly like your love of your life. You have two choices. Do you feel weird about it and sit in that, or do you punch them in the fucking face like 20 times? Because that's the choice
Yeah.
that everyone makes. They're like, this girl looks exactly like my nephew, my girlfriend, my niece, whatever. Sorry, not nephew, whatever. And I'm gonna fucking beat the
I'm gonna
shit out
beat
of
the shit
her.
out of her. Yeah.
What that urge to punch your partner in the face, like the second you have a moment to do that where it's socially acceptable, Jared? What the fuck? I thought it was so weird. She gets like
Yeah.
wrecked in the book constantly. Her whole
Constantly.
side of her face like is ripped off essentially in the book. Like scarred to all ever loving shit because Jared like smashes her face into a wall like at least 3 separate times.
And then like
Very
the Kyle
interesting.
incident fucks her whole shit up as well. Kyle being the mean brother in this movie.
My thing is like Ian tries to kill her and like beat the shit out of her, and then like turns around and
He
is
just
immediately
strangles
in
her
love
a
with her.
little.
Well, you
I
can
mean,
Yeah.
see
being
that,
strangled a little is fun sometimes. Okay, I can get that,
But
but
consensually.
yeah,
he
You gotta
did
talk about it ahead of
seem
time.
very like not to be an Ian apologist, but like he did seem very freaked out while strangling her. He was like, I guess I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Is this
I
how
really
you
thought
strangle
Kyle was
someone?
gonna do it, but Kyle's busy fighting with Jared right now.
I was just here to be backup. I don't know. So I think because he used his hands too and had to like look into her eyes to like strangle her, I think that's part of the reason that this happens because he like feels such like that's such an intimate
He
way to
feels
kill
her
someone.
humanity in that moment.
Yeah, and he's like, super close to her face and he has to like kind of like confront because there's different ways to kill someone. You shoot them with a gun, you can be like yards away, You can
It's a
use
hands-on
throwing
method.
darts or
Literally
throwing knives.
hands-on for this.
Yeah, this is like the most like psychosexual way to kill someone.
Yeah,
So maybe that's why he turned around and fell in love with Wanda right away.
well,
the
there's
Ian
that.
romance is underdeveloped in
For sure.
the movie, but the Ian Wanderer romance is actually the most important part of this film for you, Sydney, because there's a scene between them that is the entire reason why we needed to do this on the podcast at some point. Do you have any guesses about what might be important here?
No.
I
Okay.
also couldn't guess. I was gonna text you, but then I was like, I'll let her surprise me. I know we talked about it back in the day, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so we talked about how this movie explores the important question, would you fuck an alien? But there's actually an equally important question that this movie engages with when it comes to life and love and philosophy and like who we are and like is the body what makes up who you are? And the real question that all girlfriends must at some point ask is, would you love me if I was a worm? And they explicitly have that conversation in this film. They don't use the word worm, but she literally is like, you love this body. You don't love me. You would not love me if I was a worm. And he's like, yes, I would. I would love you if you were a worm. She's like, if you could hold me in your hand, you'd be disgusted. You'd crush me. And he's like, no, I wouldn't. I would love you if you were a worm.
I would kiss that little worm. I would tuck it in at night.
They literally call her a worm. It's much more explicit in the books because they literally are like, Ian's got a crush on a worm. It is truly the central would you love me if I was a worm piece of media.
So if you just forget about the whole strangling thing, he's the greatest man of all time. Because yes, Sydney, he would love you if you were a worm, and you actually are a worm.
Yeah, you are a worm. You are a little glowing silver worm. And he's not just saying, yes, I would love you if you were a worm. She's saying, you wouldn't love me if I was a worm. And he's saying, you don't know that. You don't know that. I would. So that's what I've been trying to present you with for months now. Do you love it now? That didn't convince you? This is your question that you love to pose. And this is a movie actually engaging with it.
Well, here's the thing. Now my new question that I ask people, I go, since there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, would you keep me as a pet zombie? Because I'm not going to make it as a person. Like, even though I am dangerous
Michonne
and could
style,
murder
they've
you
got
at
you
any
on-
time, if
Yeah.
you slip up 1 second, will you travel around with me and like keep me because you love me so much? That's my
How do you
new
feel about
question.
it, Michonne style from Walking Dead? Like, if your arms were cut off and your bottom jaw was cut off, like, could you be kept like that, or do you need to
No.
pose an active risk of danger?
I need to pose an active risk of danger at all times.
Okay, what if we put like a little muzzle on you?
Nope. How are you gonna get that close? How are you gonna get close?
What do you mean? If
Let's
I'm keeping you
sedate
as my
you.
pet, I'd have to keep you close.
No. How are you gonna get close enough to put a muzzle on me without becoming a
I'm
zombie?
gonna put little
How do I
oven
keep
mitts
you
on
as
your
a
hands
pet if-
first.
How do I keep you as a pet if I can't leash you? That's the whole
See?
thing.
That's a you problem, not a me
That's
problem.
she's an outdoor zombie.
We're gonna put a muzzle on you. But yeah, we'll keep you. We're gonna knock you out and then we're gonna put a muzzle on you.
We'll do what they do in the host book all the time, which is chloroform you first, and
Oh
then
yeah, we'll chloroform you. We'll chloroform you. And then we'll smash your head against the wall just for good measure.
just for good measure.
Another classic. Real quick, I figured it out. Scott Lawrence, the man who plays Doctor, is in one episode of every single show you have ever heard of. One episode of literally every single show. But he has also been in 77 episodes of Jag, a show that I watch with my dad all the time.
I saw that with my dad too.
Yep, that's him. He is in Jag, and so that's how I know him.
Wow.
What a man. What a man. What a cast.
What a filmography.
I know. He's a great man. He's got a very nice face.
No, the
Oh my
casting
God.
for this movie is legit so interesting though, because they have some like really well-known people. I mean, like as mentioned, obviously Saoirse Ronan was nominated for an Oscar like four
For
separate
this
times. For this role, she won the Oscar.
No.
But it's got some other big actors in it. Like Diane Kruger is a well-known actress. William Hurt, who plays Jebediah, he's well known. The woman who plays Maggie, Aunt Maggie, has been in a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of familiar faces here. Max Irons, son of Jeremy Irons, is also in this film, but unfortunately, literally when I watched it a couple weeks ago with friends, the people I was watching it with thought it was Theo James from the Divergent series at first, and then I put it on my Instagram story that we were watching it, and someone else responded to my Instagram story and was like, I love Theo James in that movie. So Max Irons, unfortunately,
No
he
one
didn't.
knows he's the
Yeah,
guy.
he didn't. It
We're
didn't
here
really
to set the
establish him
record
the way that
straight.
he.
Okay,
thought
but
that
that's
it would,
also
maybe.
really funny because right after I watched The Host, I immediately started watching the Divergent series.
Yes,
And
they're linked in people's minds for some reason.
here's the
I
thing.
haven't watched it.
You're not missing anything, quite frankly. But
Aw.
Theo James is so hot. But then as soon as Shailene Woodley cuts her hair, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. Goodbye.
Sure. Yeah, I mean the YA romance of it all, the tropes are very present across all these different properties. Like Divergent has the whole, she's like a teen and 4 is like her instructor, right? So that's like another teen 20 something romance right there. It was of the time, unfortunately. Everyone in Pretty Little Liars who was a teen, who was like a sophomore in high school, was like fucking some adult man at some point. So I guess that's just the way things were
It's just the way
between
cookie
2008 and 2013. They kind of like don't really get into it as much in the movie. In the movie, they kind of give you the impression that they're roughly the same age. Not so in the books.
Oh
Because
my
the
God.
Wanda
It literally-
Ian romance also is so interesting because she's like, he's also in his mid-20s, and she's like, I'm thousands of years old. But also in many ways, I am a newborn infant. I'm not even 1 year old yet.
Yeah,
So
she
that is
literally
also
says
so
that.
so hinky.
So weird. Really interesting age gap dynamics going on across the board.
And then there's that
But-
bit at the end too, but I don't want to get to that yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that. One thing I do want to say that's a positive for the movie itself is I think they did a really cool job on like creating the cave system. I wish it was even more intricate. Not that there was time for that because the movie was 2 hours and 5 minutes long. But I think that they did make it look really cool, and that was really fun to see after reading about it to like see it. And they added in that worm room. Did the worm room exist in the book? I don't think so.
No.
The worm room was really cool visually.
The
where there were
glowworms.
the glow worms, and they like they would stop glowing when you made noise and stuff. I really liked that, and I thought that was a fun ad. There weren't a lot of fun ads that they did with the movie compared to the book, but that was one good one, so good job.
Yeah, I mean, the movie did, like I said, a pretty good job of condensing everything. Is it a good film on its own? No, it's very silly. But
The acting is so
so-
bad.
It's
some of the
so
acting is
bad.
sort of good because like
No.
Saoirse Ronan is very good at the micro expressions, but like the choices that they're making when it comes to directing and visual storytelling are occasionally questionable. When I was watching it with some friends a couple weeks ago, my one friend was like, why is the lighting in this movie literally so atrocious? Like it's all just lit flat exactly the same. So I think that
Yeah.
is worth discussing, other than the
lighting
glowworm
was
and the
so
one little
bad at
glint
some
off the
point.
mirrors.
They made our beautiful hottie, the Seeker, look shiny at one point, and I'm like, girl, that's your whole job to make sure she doesn't look shiny. Come on, let her look her best as she should.
They wanted her to be chrome, just like her car and her helicopter and her motorcycle.
The one thing that was also really took me out of it in this movie was that I was deeply attracted to the actor who plays Kyle because he's the guy from fucking Narcos. And I just watched BJ Novak's movie that came out last year, Vengeance. And I know it's BJ Novak, but it was really good. Unfortunately,
Our
I cried.
enemy of the pod, BJ Novak.
I'm sorry. I watched the movie. And I cried. And he was really good on it. That guy. What's his name? Let me find him.
Is it
Kyle.
Boyd
Boyd
Holbrook?
Holbrook. Yeah, Boyd Holbrook. So that really took me out of it. I'm like, I'm supposed to hate you so much, but I can't hate you. You're too sexy.
I'm supposed to hate you, but I love you.
But I love you. He was also in that shitty 2018 Predator movie. I haven't seen it, so I can't like totally speak to it, but I have not heard good things.
Yeah, I mean the casting is interesting here because I think the first time that you see Ian also, he kind of just looks like such a dweeb, but he does kind of get hotter as the movie goes on. Like he does somehow sort of step into the love interest role for sure. He's like gentle, you know, other than the strangling thing. He's always like holding hands.
Yeah. When
Some people like that, yeah.
When it's consensual, yes.
In the right
in that
circumstances.
Moment,
under the right
certainly wasn't.
circumstances. If you're actually trying to murder me, no. If you're not trying to murder me, yes.
Who can say?
The thing
It's the intention behind it, you know?
Exactly. The thing about it is reading the book again, I was like, I was a touch-starved, love-starved fucking 15-year-old when I read this for the first time, because I remember the love being so passionate and it being so intense. And I was like, oh my God, this love quadrangle, triangle, whatever the fuck it is so passionate, blah, 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 blah. Wanderer is like ice cold towards Ian pretty much. Like she's like, I tolerate your love of me and I like you a lot, but I can't really love you because of the body that I'm in. And she says it in her little robot voice. But in the movie, I think they do a better job of like making it seem like Wanderer's actually into it with Ian. So I thought that was nice too. Like their little romance scene out when they look at the sunset over the beautiful, beautiful mountains. That really solidified it. But in the book, I was like, why was this so great for me? I was like, literally, Jared is bashing her face into the wall every 5 minutes. And I'm
And
like,
Monica's like,
he
this
beats
is
her 'cause
doing it
he's
for me.
so sad. He beats her
The
'cause he's
way
so
they
sad
talk
and he
about
loves her
things.
so
Yeah.
much. It's so
The-
fucked up.
Part of the thing that's fucked up in the book too is that, like, okay, in the movie, the way it happens is you hear Melanie talking to Wanderer, and then Wanderer speaks out loud in response. But
Yeah.
in the books, everything is just happening in her head. Everything is just like inside of her head. But what was I just saying? Why did I start saying that? What was I saying 1 moment ago?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know if this is what I was saying 1 moment ago, but she talks about the kissing with both of them, and with what I was saying was, okay, you hear Melanie in her head. Melanie can't communicate with anybody. Also, Melanie's perspective is a little different in the books than it is in the movies, but the way that she's always just like, Jared's here, Jared, like she sounds like a teenager who's been groomed by an older man 100%, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, she does. She's like,
She
my
fully
sun, my
does.
stars.
Yeah, she's just like obsessed with Jared, and she's like, Jared's here, Jared. And he's like, Melody belongs to me. That body belongs to me. And it's like so weird and like blech, and like
They use
territorial.
a lot of ownership language. Yeah, I'm like,
He does say at one point, like, and I belong to her, but it's mostly like, she belongs to me, and so does that body. And so I have a right to kill the thing inside of it if I want to. And then they're like, actually, Melanie's body belongs to her little brother, Jamie, also, which is another weird way to talk about it. But I guess like it's complicated when you're trying to separate the body from the living organism that's walking around inside of it. So, you know, it is a little messy. But when they talk about the kissing in the books, there's this moment where she's like, kissing Jared is a spark to gasoline. It's wildfire. It's passionate, blah, blah, blah. Kissing Ian is like lava, slow moving under the crust of the earth. Like, it's very much a slow burn romance because Melanie's body super unbelievably horny for Jared. And with Ian, he has to reach like past the body to the little worm inside
and tickle her little worm brain.
Tickle the worm. Okay, one of the corniest parts of this movie that is so unbelievably corny is the moment near the end when she is like finally teaching them how to take the souls out of the human bodies, which is like a whole saga in the books. It's like such a dramatic affair, where she's like keeping the secret to herself for so long, and then she finally is like, I have to tell them because she's trying to save the seeker's life basically, because she's so nonviolent that even the seeker that's been hunting them down and has killed one of her friends, blah blah blah, she's trying to save. And in the books, it's like this whole process where you like cut open and you reach in and like you like are feeling around with your fingers to remove it. And then in the movie, she's like, you just have to ask it to come out and speak to it with kindness and love. It feels your hate when you're trying to remove it. That's the secret. You don't remove it. It removes itself. And then she's just like calling it like it's a little cat. Yeah. And then it just wormies out.
So corny. And it's also like very like God's love coded. If you just give it God's love, it'll come right out of there.
If you just show it love and kindness. But the Seeker stuff is so funny to me in the books, because in the movie you see her, she's like doing violence. She like shoots that one guy in the head. She didn't mean to. I mean, she meant to shoot Jared, not the other Seeker, even though she fully shoots him in the head, and it is vile on camera. But she's like chasing them down, and then you discover at that one moment, like, the Seeker has a resistant host body too. Like, the Seeker's body talks back to her. but then they take her out and she's like, my name's Lacey, and then we never see her again. In the books, it's like they take out the soul and then the body wakes up, and the reveal is that Lacey, the human body, is actually the most annoying person on this earth, and that's what made the Seekers so stubborn and determined and unable to move on, because like she just her host was just obnoxious.
She was like, I can't live like this anymore.
Yes, it's just like they're like, this host is a complainer, like this soul is a complainer, and then they take the soul out, and Wanderer hated her, and then Wanderer's like, actually, I feel kind of bad for that soul now, because turns out Lacey's the complainer.
Lacey
like
sucks
turns out
hardcore.
Lacey sucked.
Yeah, just that
Lacey's
girl
the
sucks,
problem.
and that would make any soul probably be violent and shoot someone in the head if they had to put up with that all the time. So funny in the
another
books.
scene
What a
that I
mess.
thought was so fucking funny was when, like, so basically there's a part where Wanda finds out that the humans have been stealing like souls, or humans with souls in their bodies, and like
they've been
doing
kidnapping
little
them.
science experiments to try to get the soul out, and then everyone dies. And so she finds out that they've been doing that, and she's very, very upset, and she screams so loud at Melanie that Melanie disappears inside of her head. And then she can't get her back out while her brother, like while Jamie, the brother, is dying. It's this whole thing. I was dying so hard when Ian goes and grabs Jared and he's like, kiss her. And he just walks away. He's just like, kiss her, and walks away. No explanation. He's just like, kiss her, and walks away. Like,
Wanda
they're
goes to
just
him and is like, will you
girls.
kiss me? Melanie needs you. I need you to kiss me so that Melanie will get mad. Melanie doesn't get mad enough about Ian. She needs the real deal. She needs Jared.
She's like, you can't be kissing my man. Kiss your own man, but not my man.
And then Jared is so immediately on board. He does just kiss her. And then Melanie bites
that
him.
Is
and
his
he's like,
body.
No, you're in there. Yeah. That body belongs to him. So actually he can kiss it all he wants. So
yeah.
Disgusting.
God,
Disgusting. That said, the chemistry is pretty good, actually.
It has great lessons for young girls, I think.
Between this and Twilight,
lessons for young girls. This is why I went through my insane hater phase of Twilight, because this is how it works with me. I love something so much, and it's my whole life, and then they do something wrong, and I'm like, I hate you with my whole heart. It's very healthy. We're working on it in therapy. So I did that with Twilight, but that's because I was like, this is fucked up. This is actually very unhealthy. So I was right. It's like when I started hating Taylor Swift. She was being a petty anti-feminist bitch, in my opinion, during that era. And then
which era was
turned
that?
it around now. The like Bad Blood era. And before that too. I fell off way before that too.
Her Girl Squad era, I think. Was that you're talking about?
The Girl Squad reinforced me. I fell off in high school still. I just she let me down. I don't
when she was talking about other girls doing things on the mattress, but now it's like, actually, we want the slut shaming version. We want the homophobic version of Picture to Burn.
That song, I was always down. I'm like, I want bullshit, petty, like teenage.
I want Taylor Swift to be because that's stupid with rage. Yeah,
because she's just like me, you know.
I get it, but I was offended by that. I was a very pure little baby bean, and so I was also a huge Jonas Brothers fan. And I was like, yes, it's wrong what Joe did.
Joe's allowed to move on with Twilight star Ashley Green.
Monica was like
Camilla Bell.
Camilla Bell's what she's better known for what she does on the mattress, I think. Yeah.
That's about Camilla Bell.
Monica was like, I cannot take any of this Joe Jonas slander. I hate Taylor.
She had to stand up for
my favorite.
Her man's older
I don't know.
brother.
Yeah. I just remember that the Camilla Bell
family loyalty, you know.
Camilla,
That's her brother-in-law.
That's my future husband's brother. Okay, so you better watch your mouth. That's all coming out now. But there was like this video of like the night that like Camilla Bell like broke up with Joe Jonas, and then he did a show afterwards. Like a couple days later or something like that, and he like cried on stage.
Okay,
like, he loved her so
That's
much.
That's what you get for dumping Taylor Swift in a 17-second phone call.
Horrible.
She's never gonna remember the boy who dumped her in the phone call writes an album about it. I love
I'll
that.
write an album about
Has
it.
to
Yeah,
sing
but
it
then
all the time.
forgave him. He dated Gigi Hadid. I just found that out today.
Yeah.
Oh,
When
the
Taylor was
iconic-
dating Calvin.
The
Yeah.
iconic photo of Joe,
Them all on the
Gigi,
gondola.
Yeah.
Carly Kloss, Taylor, and Calvin
Somewhere
Harris.
else.
I was like, what's
Yeah.
his name?
The one that
Yeah.
she forgets about all the time? Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I forgot that he existed. It's fine.
Anyway, we're not turning this into a Swiftie episode, but
It's
It
a
was-
fifth Tuesday, so it is a
very
freebie.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
But yeah, I mean, the movie is just an absolute mess, but it is fun. I think it's so fun. I love the chrome. They did that just to be silly. They did that just to look cool. But like, I love the desert, so that appeals to me.
Yeah,
I
that was
love in the
beautiful.
beginning when she's just in her shiny little silver nightie for no good reason.
She's
Just
an alien. That's what aliens wear.
they love shiny things because it matches their reflective eyes.
And their fancy little bodies.
Their
actual
fancy little worm bodies.
Yeah, they're little sparkle girls and boys and days and all of that. They are beautiful little orbs of light with many, many little spindly arms. I was hoping they would look more gooey.
Mm.
They didn't look gooey enough for me. But that's it. That's my only.
Could be
that's my only-
gooier.
They could be gooier because also in the books she talks about like their silver blood a lot in the moment where she like walks in on them dissected on the tray after Doc has tried to take them
Yeah.
out of the bodies. It's also so funny in the book because she's talking about them and they're these little like they look like little centipedes and they're all like cut up and dismembered or whatever as he tried to remove them. And she looks at one of them and she's like, "That one's a child. It's just a baby." And it's so unbelievably dramatic to the point of unbelievable silliness.
This one's only 45 years old. We live thousands of years. It's a baby.
They do. They don't die. They just
I
move
know.
on to a new host body. They only die like in emergencies or if they choose to die or if
They
they're
choose to give birth.
yeah, if they become a mother, which only 1 in 5,000, 10,000 can do, but Wanderer is special, so obviously she could if she wanted to, because also Stephenie
Yeah.
Meyer loves motherhood.
This was the motherhood connection that I was not telling you about, Sydney, a couple episodes ago. It's just that Wanderer
Our unofficial
could
mommy
have-
month.
could give birth to millions of little
Little
baby souls, but
And
she chooses
also-
not to because she doesn't feel like willing to make that sacrifice for her own people, but she'll
It would
make
be
whatever
excruciatingly
sacrifice
painful.
make whatever sacrifice necessary for little baby Jamie, who she like feels like motherhood over Jamie. So
Yeah,
anyway,
because
That's the
Melanie was like 15 in the books when she and Jamie like set out on their own, basically. So Jamie's like 9 at the start and she's like 15 and they're out on their own, like living in the wilderness, basically, like off of the land and running into towns to steal things. And that's how she runs into Jared, is like she was out trying to steal supplies and he runs into her.
Yeah, because their dad
But-
killed himself without his
Only
children.
in the movie. It's different in the books. In the books, they're also not from Louisiana. They don't really get into, but then she's living in San Diego at one point. I was like, what do you mean she's in San Diego right now? But then she's driving to Phoenix or Tucson or something. And that's when she's driving to go see her healer. And then Melanie reveals in her head, actually, we're very nearby where Jeb's cave system might be. That's where Jared and Jamie might be. We could go look for them. She doesn't take control and flip the car,
Flip the
which
car?
is
Unfortunate.
it is so funny in the movie. It's so funny in the movie. The way that they had to make so many choices to adapt this film is unbelievable, with Saoirse Ronan hearing the voice in her head and speaking out loud to it. It is just, it's very silly. It's a very silly film.
it's so silly, but I'm so glad it exists. It's
I
really
know, I
good
do
that
love it so
exists.
much. It's
I
so
love-
funny to me.
It's so funny, and I love that she like becomes their little like spy, like
Mhm.
can go out and get stuff for them, like the whole raid to get the healing supplies for Jamie is so funny. Every part of it's so funny. particularly like the very like last scene I thought was so funny too, but we're not there yet. But like all of the time where she's doing like spy shit is hilarious to me.
She walks in and she's like, she has to cut herself over her eyebrow and she cuts her arm so she has a wound like Jamie, so she knows what healing supplies to get. It is
in the book, she has Jared like beat the shit out of her again.
He smashes her in the face with the rock because her whole face is fucked up. And she's like, a soul would have gotten this fixed. They wouldn't have let it heal wonky over time. They would have gone to the hospital immediately. So you have to smash up my whole fucking face with a rock.
A huge rock. I need you to smash me in the face. At this point, he's like, I don't want to, because he's moved out of his beating the shit out of the body of my girlfriend phase. And moved on to being a little bit better of a human. But he still does it. He still smashes her face with the rock.
But he feels bad about it when Ian is mad at him later, okay?
Oh man. Okay, should we talk about the end of this movie?
Yes.
The end of the movie is so crazy because her whole journey is like she's never been in a body before that has been so complicated as this one. Like, she's been a singing bat on the blind planet, and she was a flower, and she was a seaweed, and she was an ice bear, and all these things. But like, these bodies, their emotions are so complicated and they're so complex, and the love that they're able to feel, and like the range of experiences they can have in this world, it like drives home to her for the first time in the books, at least, like the humanity of other species, which is crazy because she also talks about how when she was on the seaweed planet and they colonized it, they took the South Pole, but all of the seaweeds at the North Pole committed mass suicide by just not like curling their leaves in from the sun, so they would all just die. And Melanie's like good for them. Yeah, Melanie's like, good for them, and Wanderer is like, no, it's sad. And it's like, and that never made you question like whether it's right to be taking over other creatures' bodies? That part didn't make you question. You're just like, sad. Anyway, moving on.
To mind.
But by the end of the movie and by the end of the book, she like, Melanie's her bestie. They've coexisted together in her head. They've come to care about each other. They're sisters. So she's like, how could I possibly keep Melanie prisoner in her own mind and keep her from having her body? I have to give it back. So she goes, I can't take another human's life away from them. Yeah, she doesn't want to just be put in a new body and have the same experience all over again and make a new bestie that she's going to feel terrible about robbing of her life. Yeah. And it is such a to-do in the books. In the movie, they just have that one scene where she takes them to the glowworm room and it's like, I took you here so nobody would shout because, then the glowworms would go dark and God forbid. But it's the whole thing.
That room again.
Yeah, but it's so funny to me in the movie, the casting for that moment, because I think we might have talked about it on our Twilight episode, but Emily Browning was Stephenie Meyer's original choice for who she wanted to play Bella in the Twilight movies. And so the fact that she finally got signed on for a Stephenie Meyer project is so interesting. And she's just in those little few moments at the end, like those maybe 5 minutes total. And it's not even like 5 minutes of dedicated screen time, but she's there just to be like sweet faced and fits with Wanderer. Like, that's Wanderer. Now she and Melanie are separate. But I think she is like giving Wanderer vibes though, in a way that Saoirse Ronan wasn't, which is interesting because that's such a thing in the books too.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I think it's just so funny that it worked out so perfectly. Like, in the book, they're like hunting for a body that they think has like only experienced
oh my God.
having a soul in it. So that way, like, the likelihood of the human coming back was like very little. And literally Jamie like picks out the girly that he wants Wanda to be, because he's like, she's
He's
really
like,
pretty.
she looks like you. She looks so sweet. They're like, she looks like nobody could hurt her ever or mistrust her ever. She's just a sweet, angelic little cherub. She looks like she belongs on the top of a Christmas tree.
Yeah. So it was like this whole to do in the movie. They're like, yeah, it's so crazy. This person didn't come back, and we just hoarded you until we found someone who didn't come back. We just like went directly against your wishes of dying, and we kept you alive, and we put you in here. So I hope
And we
that that's
actually
fine.
put you in another 17-year-old body. Oh wait, JK, you're
No,
18.
that's the thing, Sydney. She's 16. She's 16.
The
She's
thing in the
16
book,
years old.
they have like vaguely plot reasons in the book where they are like, we were trying to find someone who had been a soul for longer than they had been a human, but we knew you didn't want to be a child, but we also wanted to give you
Yeah,
a long
Ian can't
life.
fuck a
'cause
child.
Ian can't fuck a child, but the human lifespan is like so short comparatively to her other lives. Like we said, she was a seaweed for a zillion years.
Mhm.
So they're trying to like look for someone young, basically, and it's for science purposes. It's not to be weird,
not
but
to be
they find this
creepy.
body for her. And it's interesting also because like Jared helped pick it out with Melanie too. And they said they were looking for someone young, basically. And so it's like, were they trying to cock block with Ian, maybe? Because that whole thing is still a little complex. But they give her this body and she wakes up in it. And then she thinks to herself, oh, my birthday isn't, well, this body's birthday is in 2 weeks, but she's only going to be 17. So I should lie about how old I am so that I can still be with Ian and they won't stop me, because he's just as good of a man as Jared is. So if
So she
he
lies
finds out
about
this
her
body is
age.
16, he won't be with me. So she says, I'll be 18 in 2 weeks, which is not true. But what's crazy is she really says, like, she makes it seem like Melanie and Jared are shocked to hear that she's even that old. Like they thought they picked an even younger body. There's
They're
also
like,
these
actually,
really
you're
weird...
supposed to be 14, like
yes,
your brother.
They it's so strange. It's so bizarre. And
It's
there's also
so
these really
weird.
interesting, weird elements with it that again they don't do in the movie because pretty much everyone is just white in the movie. But in the books, there's this weird element of like Melanie has brown skin, she's got brown hair, brown eyes. I guess she's implied to be Latina, maybe. Like I said, I felt like she was like Native American to me. And then at the end, they're talking about how even though Wanderer was the soul in Melanie's body, and that was like the person that a lot of the people in the compound mistrusted, even though Wanderer has been removed and put in a new body, Melanie, who's like brown skinned and like dark and tall and strong, is still regarded with so much suspicion from some other people. Like they're still cunty to her. But little Wanderer in her tiny blonde, sweet little baby face body, everybody loves, and they're always stroking her hair and holding her hand and being so sweet to her. Like it is the most bizarre thing. It's so strange. It's so strange.
Icky.
Yeah, it's so like Stephenie Meyer truly needs to go to jail.
therapy.
Either will work, but
Stephenie
Unpack
Meyer,
some
answer
of
for your
that, babes.
crimes.
she
Hey, unpack some
unfortunately
of
is
that,
an
babes.
unmatched storyteller.
Truly, no one else could write this book, and
No
no one
one's
else
doing
should.
it like her.
No one else should.
Yeah, it is so strange at so many points. The choices
So
that she
strange.
made for no reason. Literally, there was no plot related reason that Melanie needed to be only 17 instead of like 19, that Jared needed to be fully 26 instead of like 23 or something. Like you could get them, you could have an age difference and still finagle them closer together. But she was like, no,
It's
they should
not
be a
spicy
decade
enough,
apart.
Chelsea.
But
It's
like,
not spicy enough.
He's a man. You know, and it was her first kiss too in the book when he kisses her when they first meet each other. And she's like, I thought I would never get kissed because I was 15 when the world went to shit, but I'm just gonna fuck this man and be so loyal and passionate about this man for the rest of my natural born life.
My man.
Ew.
I think what she might have been trying to do, not to be a Stephenie Meyer apologist.
Monica's the apologist of the pod.
Well, I think it might have been like to be like, there's no one left on Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the
And they like talk
relationships
about that
we
a little.
have defy
That's
the rules
Melanie's
'cause
pitch.
no one is left. You know,
Melanie's
but
pitch is like,
it's
what does
still-
it matter? We're the last two people. I'm 17, but I've been taking care of myself and my younger brother for 2 years now. Fuck me already. And Jared is like, I can't, you're too young. I'm a good man, blah, blah, blah. We have to wait, I don't know, 6 more months and then I'll fuck you, I guess. I don't really know, but
He's such a good guy.
they
What a
never
man.
explicitly talk about sex in the book other than when her therapist is like, do you need to go out and fuck somebody? Would that make you feel better?
Well, there's also that part at the end in the book where like Ian and her like finally are like,
On the mat.
oh, are we boyfriend
the rain.
girlfriend now after I've
Mhm.
been in this new body? And then she's like, I can't wait till the winter's over, because in the winter they all sleep in the same room together. Sydney, that's the context you're missing. In the winter they all sleep in the same room. Everyone in the commune sleeps in the same big room together. 'cause
There's
it's too
monsoons out
cold.
in the desert, and
Uh-huh.
when they're in their regular cave rooms, there's like holes that open up to the sky. They're gonna get rained on in there. They have to go into the
Exactly.
game room.
So there, she's like, I can't wait till the winter's over and I move into Ian's room. Winky face, dot, 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 winky face. So she's like,
it
order to
is a
fuck.
mess. Yeah,
Yep,
it's a mess.
I just love the actual end of
Stephenie
this
Meyer.
movie though, when like there's like that little standoff thing, and then everyone's
Mhm.
like, we're humans too, and you're not the only person who has been a blood traitor to your to your entire race. So, I also did that. I also like humans better.
I like that scene, but I was telling Chelsea earlier, the actor that plays the other seeker is in one of my favorite TV shows, SWAT.
No way.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, oh
Gorgeous,
yeah,
incredible.
fun.
The other soul at the
So-
end who has become so attached to his humans, his friends, that he's out there
Mhm.
with them. Everybody needs a
Friends.
pet soul that they can bring around.
I couldn't agree more.
But yeah, I love their little standoff, where they're like sitting there like whipping their sunglasses off, like, yeah, look at my eyes. Okay, so what? I'm human. You gonna kill me about it? It is so wild because this book was supposed to be like the first of a trilogy, apparently, at first. There was going to be a second book called The Seeker and a third book called The Soul, and you can find both of them on Goodreads, but neither of those books ever got written. So it's just a standalone. The
Well,
movie was kind of a flop. The movie was absolutely kind of a flop, but I
That
thought
I
the
would
book
be shocked
did
if it
okay.
was not a flop. I would be shocked. I would be
Yeah.
shocked. It's spiritual. And then the movie ends with fucking radioactive. Like this goes fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like the credits also have like the earth and the universe and all this shit, and radioactive is playing and you're like spinning around. Incredible.
All systems go deep in
It
my
was the
soul.
right
Yeah.
decision. Yeah.
Stephenie Meyer, I feel like, had a hand in that because she is so funny with music. And if you go on her website now, you can find her playlist for the host, and it's like Death Cab for Cutie, Linkin Park, Muse, 9 Inch Nails. Like, I feel like she would love Imagine Dragons Radioactive. She probably
100%.
handpicked that song.
You know, we still could get a trilogy. We got how many years
That's
later did we get
true.
Midnight Sun?
When
Oh
I
my
was trying to
God. I
research
wish
or
we
like
had
find
it.
things about this movie, I did see people being like, look, she clearly returns to Twilight a lot. She also did, if you'll recall, that gender swapped Twilight.
Yeah.
So if she wants to be remembered for the
I forgot
host
about
instead
that.
of the Twilight books, she could go write more books about the host. The world building is actually like pretty interesting in the books. Like, it is extensive. You can tell she's come up with like some conventions for the different worlds. they talk about like the naming thing more in the book because a lot of people on Earth some people stuck with their host's body and the name that came with it, and then other people will sometimes use names that they had on other planets, but they'll use like the translation of it here in English. So you'll have like Petals turned to the moon walking around, and like singing Summer Song is there, and then you'll also have like Kevin, and they're all just souls going to work together, and it's like Ford's Deep Waters, the healer, is there with Kathy, the therapist. Kathy and Kevin, they're
Beautiful
a couple.
world building.
Yeah, it is.
It's
No,
a
Kevin is
gorgeous-
someone else, but
It's a gorgeous world.
So silly.
But
yeah.
is that world gay enough? Discuss.
Is the world gay
casually moved
enough?
us into segments.
Yeah, as discussed, both Melanie and Wanderer are pretty demisexual, I would say. That feels really right for them. They're in the book, they're absolute disgust at the thought of even being attracted to someone who is not the love of their life is palpable. So I think that carries into the movie a little bit too. Although you get more like physical chemistry immediately with Ian when they're like tilling the field or whatever. And Melanie's like, don't look at him like that. He's looking at you too much. They've got like that moment. But is it gay enough? I mean, no. It's obviously not. It's a Stephenie Meyer property.
How would it be gayer though?
Here's the thing.
Old question.
If I was Wanderer and Melanie, I would have mind sex in my brain.
Like I said, they're not attracted to anybody but Jared. But that's
Self-love.
what I was thinking about.
This is her rewrite.
They literally don't. They literally don't at all, which is why I was thinking about it too. Like, that's why they're so demisexual, because otherwise at some point they would have to deal with the realities of masturbation. And then you could have a moment for a little gayness between Melanie and Wanderer for sure.
That would be...
Or like the experience of it. They're sharing the body. They're remembering. Wanderer does have a moment in the book where she is like remembering sex that Jared and Melanie had, but in very like vague, overarching terms. It's just like Wanderer thinks about it and then she gets shy and embarrassed.
I still think that they can get rid of their ickiness towards sex, Stephenie Meyer, and
Classic
they could have
Stephenie Meyer.
had a MMF foursome with
MMF
in there,
small
and
parentheses extra F.
Yeah,
yes,
but like everybody is involved here. You know,
everybody's involved.
Hear me out on this. There's a scene where there's the masturbation scene and they're both in each other's heads. Whatever. There's some vibes going on in the heads, but they still like.
Wanderer doesn't know what she's doing. Melanie needs to instruct her.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
And then they finally get into their two separate bodies, and Jared is like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited to be with Melanie," and something just feels wrong for Melanie until they finally find a body to put Wanderer in. And then they see each other and they're like, fuck Ian, fuck Jared. And they come together and fall in love. And that's the end. They're like, it's my sister.
Mm-hmm. Hey, mister, we're sisters vibes from Rent.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
that would be a very compelling story. That would be a
they
very
really didn't explore
story.
Enough the possibility between Melanie and Wanderer. They just really glossed over all of that. They never even think about Wanderer. Literally never thinks about her body in that way at all. It's
well, that's because she's used to being seaweed. You know,
she's a little worm. You know what I mean?
She's just being
she was like seaweed for a million years. Of course, she doesn't think like that.
Exactly.
She hasn't been to the Thruple Dolphin planet yet. She doesn't know the potential of what that could bring for her and the way it could really spice things up. I will say in the books, there's this other character, Sharon, who's like Melanie's cousin, who she was trying to find, and that's how she got captured in the first place. And like, Sharon sort of maybe exists in the movie in that you see Aunt Maggie walking like out of the baths holding a girl's hand. And so you can imagine if you've read the books that that's Sharon. But if you haven't read the books and they never say it's Sharon, you can imagine that Aunt Maggie has a much younger girlfriend.
Because we do like big age gaps in this.
That's the theme of the
Stephenie
film.
Meyer loves a big
That's
age
a
gap. And if she's not going to
huge theme.
canonically give Maggie a daughter or Melanie a cousin, I think that could be Magnolia's younger girlfriend. Also, Jeb as like a lifelong bachelor who's just out here in his cave system. Like, there's something queer about that for sure, too.
Oh yeah.
I get that. A man working the land. I feel it.
I feel like the Ian, Jared, you kiss her exchange too. Like, they've got some tension as well. Like, they want that threesome in ways that they don't even know yet until it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that hardcore. We've got a lot of great source material here.
Also, Jamie, like, I just feel like he's baby. He's so cute in the movie. He is cute. He's just baby.
Yeah, he's baby precious.
He could be. He's like, not to get into mama's boy gay man stereotypes, but I could see it for him where that's not the only woman in his life is Melanie and also now Wanderer, and then after that maybe he'll find a nice boy to come along one day.
I could see that. I love that for him. Okay, well now we have to ask the age-old question: where would Matthew Lillard fit into this movie?
He would be the one of the guy who drives the truck straight into the retaining wall on the freeway when they're about to get caught.
Yeah. He would he would handle that really well.
I think so. I think he would make some good expressions. He could also be like any of the Seekers or anything like that. You know what I mean? But we don't really get, other than Diane Kruger, we don't really get any of the other ones or any other people much.
Yeah. But I would have loved to see him with the glowy eyes.
Mm-hmm. The glowy eyes I hated.
Oh, he could have been one of the humans at the end in the other group.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the glowy eyes did the same thing that the red eyes did for Dakota Fanning in Breaking Bad, in Breaking Dawn, and all the other ones.
You remember when she's in Breaking Bad?
Remember when she was a vampire in Breaking Bad? Yeah. No, but like she just like didn't like do a lot of acting because the eyes did it for her. I felt like that was what those eyes were too. It was just like, it's all you could really see, especially on Emily Browning. For some reason, sorry, it's gonna sound so mean, they made her look so weird. I don't know what it was.
Because her eyebrows were so
weird.
light.
She did look weird.
I wonder when did Sucker Punch come out? Maybe she had just bleached her everything for Sucker Punch. Yeah, Sucker Punch was 2011, so maybe she filmed this right after that, and they tried to dye her eyebrows back brown to match her newly brown hair, but they came out like a little orangey instead. They're just, so it just makes her like whole...
Her whole face structure looked like extra alien to me.
They said we can't give her strong brows, otherwise people will find her untrustworthy and they won't pet her hair all the time.
I thought she was more like an alien with the light eyebrows. But yeah. Okay, that brings us to our dumb bitch. And I think that's the Seeker. But there's a lot. No, or it's Jared because he keeps beating up his girlfriend.
No.
Yeah, also.
It's the guys going over the speed limit. You had one job, and that is go the speed limit.
That's go the speed limit. Souls don't speed. You guys, come on. Yeah. And then they literally had to just drive straight into that wall, which is crazy.
That was
the whole movie.
That was a
crazy.
big smash. Yeah.
There's so many things that don't have internal logic within the film itself. Like Diane Kruger doesn't chase after Jared and Kyle when they're driving away. They're just like, well, they're gone. Almost got them, but maybe next time. They just let them go. It's what a mess.
Interesting. It's
what
a mess.
I love it.
Well, we're saying it's a mess. What did the people think? It's time for knives out of fives.
This movie got 10% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, which is super, super rotten.
Yep,
So
yep.
that is very low. It got 50% rotten from audiences, which is much better than 10%, but still rotten, still pretty bad. On IMDb, it has 5.8 out of 10, so that's a little better. You know, we're coming up. But again, this has incredible critical acclaim, actually, because it was also nominated for a Teen Choice Award.
Wow.
It was nominated for Choice Movie Actress Sci-Fi Fantasy for Saoirse Ronan in the year 2013.
Wow. Good for her. She win?
No.
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Yeah. Too bad. Too bad
Too
with that
bad.
one. Who wants to go first?
I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5.
Oh my
I feel
God.
like that's almost like generous.
That's so generous. I'm not going that high.
Like, honestly, it's only because of that one guy at the very end.
he saved it for
He
you.
did,
He
and I
really
was
came together
like,
and
it
wrapped up
literally,
the
I was like,
experience.
And I love him. So
That's fair.
yeah.
nothing else. I have nothing else to say.
Would you love me if I was a worm? That conversation does nothing for you. Maybe you need to rewatch it now that you have that thought in mind.
Oh,
Maybe you
yes.
need to do it all over again, actually. Maybe
To
I should
answer
have
the
led with
age-old
that instead of
question.
holding it back.
Yeah.
Presented the film in that way.
I'm gonna give this one a 2 because I feel like a 1.5 means I hate it. I'm giving it a 2. It's just
Yeah.
really bad. I had a great time, but I can be
Yeah.
objective. It's pretty shitty. But I'm glad that we covered it, and I'm glad I got to read the book again.
Yeah.
And to really understand how just like out of touch I was with what romance was when I first read this book. I was like, this is it. This is everything to me. I've never felt so moved
That
in my life.
wildfire burning
Never
passion.
have I been this moved since Twilight itself. My God. And now I'm like, wow, this shit is so fucked up.
Yeah. It is.
The movie was a lot of fun, hot people being hot together, and I love Saoirse Ronan no matter what. So I had a good time and I laughed a lot. So, you know, it was a joyous 2 stars or 2 knives out of 5s.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it like 3 knives out of 5s, I think. Like I said, I literally went to a Stephenie Meyer book signing to get this book right when it came out in the year 2008. So I never saw the movie without having already read the book. It's hard for me to know how much the movie really stands on its own, because that was a lot of the criticism it faced, is that like it doesn't really get into the world enough or the character's experience enough to build either out, and it is 2 hours long already. That said, if you've read the books, I think it's fun. I think it does the best. It like marries things pretty well to make sense in terms of the stakes it's presenting. They make some fun aesthetic choices with all of the chrome. They make some very silly choices where, you know, just having a fight in Melanie's head is not necessarily going to be that exciting to watch one person sitting calmly on screen as two over like voiceovers are arguing with each other. So they messed with it a little. They had Melanie take over her body more frequently to flip a car and such, etc. And I think that was really fun. Yeah, I thought they did a pretty good adaptation. They did a pretty good adaptation. That said, it is not a good standalone movie, but it is fun. I have fun every single time I watch it. It's always a blast to watch. So I give it a 3 lovingly, but it is not good. It is not good.
Oh man, the host. How many people who are listening now thought that this episode was going to be about The Host, the horror
2006 movie.
which is actually really fucking good. It's so good, and I promise I'll make these girlies do it on the pod sometime soon. But yeah, if that is what you thought, you got another thing coming.
Monica and I did a movie night one time where we watched the Zoom horror movie Host, and then we watched this movie, The Host. But we'll have to do a big movie marathon one night where we also watch 2006 The Host, and we just do them all together.
We'll
I
do
think
host 2
Host,
weeks,
The
and it'll
Host,
be
The Host after
Yeah.
that. So we'll just
But we
put
could
the
just
sci-fi romance in the middle.
We could do host 2 weeks though, for the pod.
Hosty 2
Host.
weeks.
Not
Should we
this
just
host again.
shake
We're
up
not doing
our-
this one again. We're not doing this one again, to be clear. It's gonna be the Zoom horror movie Host, which is actually scary, and The Host, which is scary and then very moving emotionally, weirdly.
Just like this film.
Just like this film. But yeah, that is the grand finale of our Alien month. It's been a blast. Beep boop, ack, 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 ack. Anything else, Alien, you want to say before we turn it over to a new month? We come in
That month would be
peace.
September.
Yeah, the new
got
month is
new month.
September. It's not themed. It will be the finale of season 3, though, eventually. But not quite yet. Am I going to introduce this one? Should you do it, Sydney? Because I think you're the only one of us who's seen it.
Ah. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Ladies, listeners, do you want to play a game? We are going all the way back to the original Saw because there's a new one coming out, and I haven't seen the original one in years, but this was always a staple at my birthday.
Oh God, you
Oh
sick fuck.
Yeah.
This came out right after my 14th birthday, and so I made everybody go into theaters like with my parent. So my dad took me and all of my little tweeny girlfriends
Oh
go see
Saw
Saw
in theaters.
for my
The
14th birthday.
ultimate
So
torture porn horror
Sydney.
movie.
Eighth grade was fun. I had half black, half blonde hair. Like I was big, and my father was just like, "Yeah, this tracks."
Dear
This
fuck.
fits with the Sydney that I know and
I
have
would
helped
love
raise. Yeah.
to meet that Sydney. Hot damn. Yeah, the Saw is like a movie that I swore like on my life I would never watch. Like for years and years. I was like, I'm not into that torture porn shit. Blah blah blah. Well, I'm not too good for anything, as we've learned. So I'm glad we're finally doing it. And I heard the first one is actually good.
Really good.
I've
It's
heard-
not going to
yeah.
be like The Hills Have Eyes, which is what I always associate it with. So that's good, I guess.
I'm very curious because I feel like I am familiar with the premise, but I feel like there's more to it to that. I've seen hints that there's a surprising amount of depth in the Saw films, or at least in the first Saw film. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious to engage and find out if some of the vague things that I've seen that have led to assumptions that I've made over the years, if any of those are like at all
Based
on the
in
right
truth.
track. Yeah, I can't wait
Yeah.
to find out what Saw actually is, basically. So
I know. Yeah, like let's see what Jigsaw's all about.
what's
Next
his
week on
deal?
Spooky Tuesday. Okay, what's our poll question gonna be for the host? Chelsea and Sydney. take it,
Should
'cause I have no idea.
Stephenie Meyer answer for her crime?
Should
Yes.
she go to jail or therapy?
That's it. That's it. That's it. Perfect. Should she go to jail or therapy? And you know what? You might not. Maybe I don't mention this right now. Maybe you don't want to talk about 5-star reviews after we forced you to watch those. But it opened your eyes to put your finger on the pulse of what 2013 girlies didn't want to see, apparently, because it didn't actually
It's
do
the
that well.
natural sequel to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, actually. So
You're so right.
Actually.
You're actually so right. But anyway, you could give us a 5-star review. You could. And I think everyone would feel real nice about it. So think about it. And also you can follow us on social media. We're at spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And we're getting close to 150 subscribers. So do it. We're also on Tumblr and Facebook at Spooky Tuesday Pod. And we're on Letterboxd at Spooky Tuesday. So I say thank you for listening. And I'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, spookies.
It's not really me you like. It's this body. You couldn't care for me. If you could hold me, in your hand, you'd be disgusted. You'd crush me.
You don't know that.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.